Okay, well, hello. Today we are joined by Igor. Igor, could you take a few moments to tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Hey, my name is Igor, and I've been having classes with Bryden for the better part of the decade, if I remember
Mhm, mhm,
correctly.
mhm.
And uh, today I've been told we're going to have a conversation to to shine some of my wisdom to the world.
Indeed, Igor is very familiar with a wide range of different topics, and he's going to be sharing some of his deep wisdom with us today. Today, we're going to be discussing ChatGPT and its influence on many aspects of life and the world, especially in the field of education. So maybe, Igor, do you have any kind of initial comments, your thoughts on ChatGPT? What do you think about it as a tool, advantages, disadvantages, etc.?
Yeah, I have a disclaimer that I would like to make that is slightly unrelated to the concept of uh, ChatGPT as a technology. I am in no way a machine learning engineer. I am
Mhm.
only slightly proficient in using ChatGPT, and of course, nothing that I ever say during that conversation should be um, taken without any further proof and should be fact checked and
Yeah, well,
possibly
they're
researched on
just
the internet beforehand.
speculative opinions between friends. I think that's fine. No problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so you should take everything that I say with a grain of salt, and remember that it's just an English class, not the machine learning class.
Exactly. Okay, so disclaimer borne in mind. Please proceed. Go ahead.
Mm. I think that the quantity of people that have been using ChatGPT for extensive periods of times and also have um, have kind of wished they didn't
Mm.
ha is increasing lately. And even though I continue using it, my frustration and the overall dissatisfaction with the uh, influence uh, on the learning community,
Mhm.
it, it worries me sometimes. I think that the worst thing that is the consequence of ChatGPT's appearance for the better part of 2 years is the concept of learned helplessness in um, especially in new learners. Imagine that you are
Mm.
having some trouble understanding a subject, and and you go from uh, and you go from zero knowledge on the subject to a slight understanding of the field, and at some point you can probably realize that you need an input from ChatGPT to guide you on possible ways of solving a particular problem, right? So this hasn't been the case without ChatGPT, as the initial um, stage of learning in any area have kind of been involving the concept of searching for information on your own and formulating what you need to know on your own.
Mm.
And I think it was a very valuable stage that is often omitted when using ChatGPT for learning purposes.
Yes. Do you think that we can talk about a pre-ChatGPT and well, GPT and post GPT period, right? In terms of education and how we learn. Do you think it's kind of a fundamental transition point in learning, right? These new technologies.
I think it is. In my experience, it still helps me with certain areas that I know I can allocate to ChatGPT without losing um, any ability to develop myself just a little bit further, and without any drop in quality of what ChatGPT produces. And I think that prior to the appearance of ChatGPT, uh, that problem simply did not exist, as you had to complete all of your assignments and all of your mm, tasks and plan your work ahead on your own. And mm, that influence is probably a bit less noticeable when it comes to subjects that are related to natural languages, or philosophy, probably medical studies, and is slightly more pronounced in areas where careful planning and consideration or project evaluation is in order. For instance, such as mathematics, computer science, maybe the areas of deep learning and machine learning as well. So those kind of subjects, I think they have deteriorated the most, in a sense that new learners have been learning to avoid planning whatsoever and avoid having to make a decision on what you're going to learn and what you're not. And this is my largest hot take against ChatGPT. And there have been points in my life when I truly wanted the post ChatGPT world to be less advanced on ChatGPT side, right? So that ChatGPT would drop in quality, so that people would start realizing that the planning stage has to be done by people again. And my general fear is that the number of people who are going to reach extreme heights in their respective fields is going to drop within the next 20 years because of the lack of the skill of learning to learn in new learners in any field. And that is something that bothers me quite a little bit. And I'm honestly, I think I would have been the victim of such a learning mechanism. Most definitely, I would have been, and I'm truly grateful that ChatGPT emerged in all its expressive power and strength only after I have acquired some basic knowledge in my own field of studies.
I suppose we have to clarify as well what exactly do we mean by learning, right? Because I suppose there are several different kinds of learning. I think what you're really referencing here is like learning to solve problems, right? There are other forms of learning. Like traditionally, a lot of education has been based on the memorization of facts. And I do question, is that kind of learning really necessary anymore? If I can access any information on any topic instantaneously, do I need to memorize facts anymore? Or can I just offload that to an AI model?
Yeah, you interpreted me in the way that I intended to. Apologies for not stating it clear enough. I am referring to the lack of
Problem
ability
solving
to,
skills, right?
yes,
Independently.
yes,
Yeah.
to rather, sometimes it gets referred to as meta learning, because you're not learning something per se, you're learning how to increase your learning speed in other areas, right? And I think that is the skill that has seen quite rapid decline since the emergence of ChatGPT.
Could you give me some more details on this topic of meta learning? What is meta learning? Explain it further.
It is just a made-up word. I'm not entirely sure
Okay.
if I am the original author, but I'm 99% sure I'm not the
It sounds
original inventor of the term.
sounds like a real word, doesn't it? So we'll
It
accept it.
sounds it does.
I'm
The
sure I've
concept of
I'm sure I've heard that before in a YouTube video somewhere. Meta learning. I'm pretty sure that it
possibly
exists. Yeah.
possibly.
Mhm.
So definitely don't attribute anything to me.
Okay.
Anyway, I interpret the word meta learning as anything that refers to increasing the speed at which you obtain material or skills in any applied field.
Hmm.
This could be this term is probably useful in the context of language learning, uh, as it is useful in the context of some um, highly mathematical field of study. It is just the amount of time and effort that is required to reach a certain level of proficiency, and how you measure that particular desired level of proficiency is an unrelated question. So assuming there is one, assuming you can define what is your desired level, the ability to reach it quickly and with less effort is probably what any reasonable human being would want in this life.
I personally have used GPT for my own language learning purposes. For example, one of the uses that I found beneficial is that I'll give it a sentence and I'll say, what is the grammatical function of X word in this sentence? Explain, right? And it will do it, often to quite a high standard. And I find that genuinely useful as a tool, right? Because beforehand you would have to consult a dictionary, and you would have to or look up some forum online. And even so, it was inferior, right? Because it doesn't reference or explain its use in the specific example that you've given, right? So I think that's a genuine use case for GPT in language learning. What do you think about that?
I think while you were explaining that particular use case, I have come up with another one that probably doesn't have any detrimental qualities at all.
Mm.
If you try using ChatGPT as a language partner after you have obtained a certain level, say
I
B1 or B2,
I think even
and
A
in any
A2,
language.
I think A2 you could use it for quite simple phrases, simple questions and
Mm,
dialogues, right?
Yeah, okay, that's possibly debatable, but it is difficult to tune the output of ChatGPT to be exactly your level when you are a little bit less advanced. But when you reach, say, B1 or B2,
I,
you
I must say that GPT has a tendency to use very high level C2 level English, right? And if you ask it a question, it will genuinely respond in advanced English, right?
uh, it it quite possibly is. I have never attempted to prompt engineer ChatGPT instance to dumb down the English language a bit.
Mhm.
I have been I've been using it to learn another foreign language, and uh, aside from the practice that I got, I possibly enjoyed it quite a little more, quite a little bit more, compared to if I would have spent this time with a textbook, completing some predefined exercises. Um, I think that having obtained some mm, some prior level that is enough for basic communication purposes, I think it is I think it is quite enjoyable to use it as a language partner, especially since the release of an Android app, which if I rem- if I remember it correctly, allows for selection from multiple voices,
Mm.
and in my opinion, they are quite good, even if your language is even if your target language is not English.
Yes. Do you ever use AI screen reading tools? You know that they can read
Um,
like books or other texts to you, and they can use the AI system to like read it to you in natural-ish speech.
mm, Unfortunately, not. That is possibly a personal tendency of mine. Um, I may have some high
Mhm.
standards uh, for materials that I have to listen to. For audiobooks, I have only a very small selection of readers that I have thoroughly enjoyed, but for probably 98% of all the materials,
Mhm.
I prefer the old reading way.
Yes, yes. I think in my case, it depends on my mood. It depends how much time I have as well, because often I'll have multiple different things that I need to do. And I need to exercise, I need to wash the dishes, I need to consume some
Mhm.
text and whatever. I think the problem with like traditional reading, where you open the book and you read the book, is that you can read and do nothing else. It's like you have to be entirely focused on that one task. Whereas if you're listening to something, you can do something else at the same time, right?
I think I cannot relate. I have never been able to truly listen and do something else at the same time. If I do the dishes, I am concentrated on doing the dishes. I I just don't get any enjoyment from listening to something in parallel. That is,
Mm.
it's possibly a personal quirk of mine. I'm not sure how many people share it, how many don't. Uh,
Mm. Well,
mm,
I suppose
but
we have a difference of opinion on this point. Yeah.
sure,
I like to do both. I like to read. I read books. I quite like magazines and other things as well, but I like to listen to material as well.
that's of
Both
course
both
allowed.
but both in the form of YouTube videos, but also actual texts which are read to me with an AI voice reader. You used a term earlier that I'd like to go into a bit more detail on. You said learned helplessness. Could you explain this idea in a bit more detail?
Uh, I have seen a meme recently. It was related to an office of IT related employees, and there was a chair. A meme was a chair of probably a high level executive, uh, sitting with the back with the back with his back towards the reader, and on the chair there is a taped sheet of paper with the text: "Only ask me if you have asked ChatGPT before and failed." And I cannot relate. I think that learning to ask ChatGPT for help gives you an an unnatural level of being sure that you are always assisted, and in a way that removes the necessity to to think whether your current level of effort, whether your current effort is enough to go and get help somewhere else, or whether you should try a little bit more. It is a bit simpler with ChatGPT. If you have asked ChatGPT and was unable to solve the problem with its help, then it's probably time you go and get some external help. Oh my God, external help
No.
from external sources. But prior to that, you had to evaluate where was that boundary of having to try to push the problem a little bit more using only your own efforts, or asking for help, right? And you don't have to do this problem anymore. And I think that when I have first encountered the phrase learned helplessness, it was in the context of um, experiencing a lack of motivation and a lack of understanding what to do when one has been re- refused on, refused from, refused of. Not entirely sure of the preposition.
It
When
would depend on the rest of the sentence.
Okay, I'll try. When one is refused from using, no, it's weird English. Let me say it another way.
Maybe when you say one is not able to use or one cannot
Yes, of course.
access,
Yes,
yeah,
of
this might be
course, of
better.
course.
Yeah.
Sure. When one is not able to use ChatGPT, uh, one's ability to problem solve plummets dramatically because
You
the
panic, right? I mean,
yes,
I've
yes, exactly.
because I use GPT for various different tasks, right? Just to remove a lot of the grunt work. And periodically they will be error. Well, they'll basically OpenAI's servers will shut down because of a hacker attack or whatever, right? And the
Mhm.
feeling when their system goes offline, it's like sheer panic, right? Because you you had like this worker that was doing all these tasks for you before, and then it's just gone, right? And what do I do now, right? You could, I think already we're dependent on these systems, don't you think?
I have unironically seen a person who is much more advanced than me in my field of study who have gone a little bit too hard on ChatGPT and quite literally panicked when uh, after several weeks of using it to automate some menial labor, he suddenly had to do it by hand again, and it was not a pleasant experience to sit in the same room with him at the time. And I'm afraid that this concept of learned helplessness can spread not only to a smaller population uh, mm, of only beginner learners to other stages of learners as well.
Mhm. Yes, 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 exactly. Uh, Kind of switching gears a little bit here. I wanted to talk about the question that's on a lot of people's mind regarding GPT, especially with younger learners. What do you think about the impact of GPT on homework?
Isn't that exactly the thing that we have been talking about for the past 20
No,
minutes?
no, but
Or
I don't just mean like workers depending on ChatGPT to do menial labor. I mean people like at school or in a class who have
oh, okay, I
an
get it.
essay assignment and they will just copy and paste the essay assignment and say to GPT, do this, right? Write this essay for me, and then copy and paste whatever GPT produces and submit that as their homework assignment. That's what I'm referring to here.
I get it. I'm a little bit uncertain of what I should reply. Uh, I think there is definitely a small percentage
Mhm.
of students who have this innate knowledge uh, on what does learning actually mean, and ChatGPT will open a bit a bit more time for these learners to actually do what they like, um, and and possibly
That's a very controversial opinion, but okay, no,
a
please,
ver-
please go on.
but I'm not sure, and therefore the quality of education of that small percentage of population would possibly increase, allowing those people with some um, disrespect to menial labor who for some reason already have the understanding um, of what they would want to do with their own occupation in the nearest future. Uh, it may indirectly improve their level of education and their overall satisfaction with the education process by allowing them to skip uh, stuff that they actually don't need. But I am definitely in the dark um, as for whether this is enough of a boost compared to. Uh,
What I think, I think these people that you've just referenced, they will exist, but they will be exceptional cases.
yes,
A
yes,
very like minuscule percentage of the overall
1%,
one
maybe
percent,
2.
one or two. It could be sub 1% potentially, right?
Hmm,
And that might vary depending on the school, right? Or
that
depending
is
on
debatable. Yes, of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
highly debatable.
I think a lot of people, it just basically means they're just going to kind of delegate their entire learning experience to a machine, right? Interestingly, I was reading an article some time ago about teachers that are using GPT to grade assignments, right? So, as this progresses, you can have this kind of surreal
Education system when
because
no one really does anything. Yes,
nothing has actually happened. So you have students submitting GPT assignments, which are then graded by GPT. So like simultaneously, the student nor the teacher, no one's actually doing anything, right?
somewhat surreal.
It
A bit sad,
is dystopic, I think, is the appropriate word.
possibly. I apologize for the lack of advanced vocabulary. But that is probably the proof of me not being ChatGPT, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do you think that because some I don't have you heard of Turnitin before, that company, Turnitin?
I think I haven't. Could you please enlighten me a bit?
Sure. So Turnitin is a company and they offer services to schools, universities, other educational institutions or organizations to be able to check for plagiarism or the use or
Oh, okay.
some kind of dishonest behavior, right, within the submission of assignments.
I see.
And they claim that they are able to detect AI generated material in assignments. Do you think they're up to the task, or do you think they're bluffing and really that the technology is not ready for the wave of AI produced material?
As far as I know, it is possible in large percentage of cases to detect whether a written work has been produced by an AI or not. One of the simplest and most blunt ways of detect
To detect, right? To
to
detect.
detect, yes, yes, of course, I apologize. To detect
English class.
AI, indeed, to detect kind of whether a work has been produced by using AI is to look at the at the frequency at the frequency. Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah,
At the
I think you could just
uh,
say distribution in this case, right?
yes,
The
po-
distribution. Mm.
possibly. You basically have to evaluate how frequent certain words are in relation to other words in the text, and
Especially adjectives. They seem to focus on the use of particular adjectives in that are used. Of course, they exist and they're used by humans, right? But the frequency of use of particular adjectives is totally out of order than what you would expect with
yes, indeed,
human produced material,
indeed.
right?
I believe I have seen an article which was the evaluation uh, of that parametric, and I have seen uh, more than a dozen words which had frequency uh, off by several orders of magnitude, 1 to 2 orders of
Yeah.
magnitude, off uh, from the distribution of that word in the regular text.
I've noticed this. If you ever produce like sections of text, I don't know.
Mhm.
That's like in my case, it can be like a pronunciation assignment, right? So you might generate a text
Okay.
on a particular theme that you're discussing. They will appear certain words very frequently, which are they exist, but they're rare in normal human speech, right? A good example of this is the word tapestry. So
Tapestry.
like virtually every paragraph that I would produce using GPT would use the word tapestry, right? I think I've used this word probably about 6 times in my life, I think, right? A very, very rare word in normal speech. It will talk, oh,
Indeed.
the tapestry of cultures in China or something. Okay. And the first time, it's okay. But then it uses the word again and again.
And again.
And it's not wrong, right? It's grammatically correct. And by definition, it's correct. But it's just the frequency is unnatural for something that would be produced by a human. Another word was encompass. GPT really likes the word encompass.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that has been one of my experiences as well. I think I have actually learned to hate this particular word
You can use it once,
for the
like
past two
in
years or so.
I think it's one of these words that you can use like once in like an entire text, right? Otherwise, it just gets a little bit annoying, right? Because I think in day-to-day speech, we would just use the word include, wouldn't we? Rather than encompass. Yeah, it's a much
Or
more common
consist of, yes.
consists of, includes, or something to that effect, right? But you don't hear people saying encompass on the street, right? It's unusual in normal human interactions.
Yes, of course.
Indeed. Well, Igor, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your opinions with us. Much appreciated.
Sure. Thank you for the class, Bryden. See you.
Most welcome.
Um,
Bye. See you
bye.
around.